Hey Sarah, it's Thursday, October 25th, and I'm going to talk about looking for Alaska today. I really liked that the book was set up in like a before and after setting. I feel like really emphasizes the way we think about our lives in befores and afters. We can't see ourselves being the same person after a fundamentally changing event, the way Miles doesn't see himself as the same person after Alaska. I also really liked the quotes that were used and the last words. I didn't really like all the kind of, I don't know, the vulgarity, some of the smut, some of the language. It's a little much sometimes, I felt like. I feel like a lot of that could have been hinted at more than expressly shown. Part of it made the characters a little bit less believable. I don't know that I really can think of anyone I know who's at all like any of the characters in the book, not just because I don't know enough people, but because some things that the characters did, I was like, I don't know if that would happen that way. Even really smart teenagers don't have such a polarity between immaturity and this really intense philosophical intelligence. I love that Alaska embodied the Great Perhaps. I love that she was the Great Perhaps for Miles, that she is the event in his life that he's looking for, the thing that makes him believe in the possibilities of greatness. I love the title of the book. The title is great. It's like when you read the book and you realize that Alaska is the Great Perhaps, when he's writing his paper and he says, you know, she was this for me, but even though she's not here, I can still believe in a Great Perhaps because of her, even despite her absence. And I really like that. I love the title is talking about he's not looking for Alaska. He knows what happened to Alaska now, and he knows the way her story concluded, but he's still looking for something like Alaska, for a Great Perhaps, for the thing that she symbolized to him. The symbolism in the book is very simplistic and easy to understand, but it embodies these huge topics. Things like, you know, death and morality and hope and belief. And I really like that all these complex topics can be symbolized in such simple ways. I really like when they're at the game. Miles, he says, I wanted to be one of those people who had streaks to maintain, who scorched the ground with their intensity. I relate to that a lot, that I want to be someone who does stuff and has that intensity about them and leaves their mark. I also really love the phrase, imagining the future is a kind of nostalgia. You spend your whole life stuck in the labyrinth, thinking about how you'll escape it one day and how awesome it'll be, and imagining the future keeps you going, but you never do it. You just use the future to escape the present. I thought that was really cool. I really loved the fact that he takes this idea of imagining the future as something that people do to escape the present, and imagining the future is similar to thinking about the past. I also love the phrase, if people were rain, I was a drizzle and she was a hurricane. I really like that phrase a lot. It's a good one. One of my favorite things in the book too was something the Colonel said actually. After all this time, it still seems to me like straight and fast is the only way out. But I choose the labyrinth. The labyrinth blows, but I choose it. And so I like that the Colonel had this idea that even though the labyrinth was this suffering that, you know, humans can't escape, that is just part of life, that he can choose the labyrinth. And I feel like I also need to choose the labyrinth, not to suffer, but to learn. And then probably my favorite quote, which wasn't even in the book, is at the end of the book in an author note by John Green. I feel like this quote sums up the book better than I ever could. He says, I was born into Bolivar's labyrinth, and so I must believe in the hope of Rabelais' Great Perhaps. I think that's so true. That's how I felt about the book by the end, was that just because, you know, I have to experience suffering as a human being doesn't mean I can't also hope for a better future. I can hope that things are going to be worth it, that things are going to work out, and I can find my own Great Perhaps. And I don't have to wish for a better future. I can go out and create it. I can choose the labyrinth, and I can choose my Great Perhaps. Anyway, I'll see you this weekend probably, or on Monday on the interwebs.